A Tale of Occidental Exile by Shihabuddin Suhrawardi. Introduction. Praise be to God, Lord of the universe, and salutations upon his chosen servants, especially our Lord Muhammad the Chosen, and all of his family and companions. When I saw the tale of Hai ibn Yaqzan, I was struck by the fact that, although it contained marvels of spiritual words and profound allusions, it was devoid of intimations to indicate the greatest stage, which is the great calamity that is stored away in divine books, deposited in the philosophers' symbols, and hidden in the tale of Salaman and Absal, put together by the author of Hai ibn Yaqzan, that is, the mystery upon which the stages of the adherents to Sufism and the apocalyptics are based. It was alluded to in Hai ibn Yaqzan only at the end of the book, where it is said, sometimes certain solitaries among men emigrated toward him, etc. Therefore, I desired to mention some of these things in the form of a tale for some of our dear brethren, and I have called it A Tale of Occidental Exile, and in God do I put my trust for what I wish. The tale begins. When I traveled with my brother Asim from the region of Transoxiana to the lands of the Occident, in order to hunt down a flock of birds on the shore of the Green Sea, we suddenly fell into a town whose inhabitants were wicked, that is, the town of Kairouan. When the people perceived that we had come amongst them unexpectedly, we being sons of the elder known as Al-Hadi ibn al-Khair al-Yamani, they surrounded us and took us bound in shackles and fetters of iron, and imprisoned us at the bottom of an infinitely deep pit. Above the unused well, which was built for our presence, was a lofty palace on which were numerous towers. Then we were told, "You are permitted to ascend to the palace by yourselves when it is evening, but by morning you must sink back down to the bottom of the pit." At the bottom of the pit was layer upon layer of darkness. When we put forward our hands, we could scarcely see them. However, at night we ascended to the palace, and looked out over the void by peeking through a small window. Sometimes doves would come to us from the bedecked thrones of the Yemen to tell us of the condition of the beloved's abode. Sometimes Yemenite lightning flashes would visit us, winking from the eastern right side, and inform us of the highways of Najd. And the arak-scented breezes made us more and more ecstatic, so we pined and yearned for our homeland. Thus we remained, ascending by night and descending by day, when we saw the hoopoe enter through the small window and bring us greetings on a moonlit night. In his beak was a letter sent from the right side of the valley, in the blessed field, from the tree. He said to us, "I have brought your deliverance. I have come to you from Sheba with certain news, and it is explained in this letter from your father." We read the letter which said, "From Al-Hadi, your father, and it is in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. We have tried to make you yearn for us, but you have not longed. We have summoned you, but you have not set forth. We have shown you the way, but you have not understood." And he indicated me in the letter, saying, "If you desire to be delivered along with your brother, do not put off traveling. Cling to our rope, which is the dragon's tail of the holy sphere that dominates the regions of lunar eclipse. When you come to the valley of ants, shake your skirt and say, 'Praise be to God, who has given me life after causing me to die, and unto him shall be the resurrection.' Then cause your family to perish, and kill your wife, for she shall be one of those who remain behind. Go wherever you are commanded, because the utmost remnant of those people will be cut off in the morning. Embark on the ship, and say, 'In the name of God, while it moveth forward, and while it standeth still.'" He explained in the letter everything that would occur on the way. Then the hoopoe went away, and the sun rose above our heads when we reached the edge of the darkness. We embarked on the ship, and it sailed with us between waves like mountains, and we wanted to go up onto Mount Sinai in order to visit our father's hermitage. The waves came between me and my son, and he became one of those who were drowned. I realized that the prediction of my people's punishment would be fulfilled in the morning. Is not the morning near? I also realized that the city which committed filthy crimes would be turned upside down, and stones of baked clay would be rained down on it. When we reached a place where the waves clashed together and the waters rolled over themselves, I took my wet nurse who had suckled me and threw her into the sea. Since we were traveling in a vessel composed of planks and nails, we ripped open the ship out of fear of a king behind us, who took every ship by force. Then our laden ark took us to the island of Gog and Magog, to the left side of Mount Judi. There were with me jinn, who worked for me, and I had command over a well of molten brass. I said to the jinn, "Blow into it until it becomes like fire." Then I made a dam so that I was separated from them, and the prediction of my Lord is true. I wandered in that region, and on the road I saw the skulls of Ad and Thamud, empty on their thrones. I took the two dependents along with the spheres, and put them, along with the jinn, into a spherical vial I had made, and on which were lines like circles. I cut off the rivers from the liver of the sky, and when the water was cut off from the mill, the building fell to pieces and disappeared into thin air. And I cast the sphere of spheres onto the heavens until the sun and moon and stars were crushed. Then I was rescued from 14 coffins and 10 graves, from which God's shadow emerges to contract me to holiness, an easy contraction after making the sun to show. I encountered God's path and realized that this is my right way. My sister and family were taken by an overwhelming affliction as a punishment from God by night, and she spent the night in a portion of the night darkly, and she had a fever and a nightmare that resulted in a violent headache. I saw a lamp containing oil, and from it a light shone, spreading out through all parts of the house. It lit up the niche, and the inhabitants were lighted by the illumination of the sun's light on them. I put the lamp in the mouth of a dragon that dwelt in the tower of the water wheel, beneath which was the sea of Clysma, and above which were stars, the origin of whose rays was known only to the Creator and those who are well grounded in the knowledge. I saw that the lion and bull had disappeared, and that the bow and the crab were folded up in the revolution of the spheres. The scales remained balanced when the star of the Yemen rose from behind wispy clouds that were composed of what the spiders in the corners of the elemental world spin in the realm of generation and corruption. With us were sheep, which we left in the wilderness. They were destroyed by the earthquakes, and a raging fire fell among them. When the distance had been traversed and the road trod, and the oven poured forth from the conic section, I saw the sublime bodies. I joined them and heard their tunes and modes, which I learned to sing, but the sound grated on my ears as though it were a chain being dragged across granite. My limbs were almost torn to pieces, and my joints were almost pulled apart from the pleasure I experienced. And the affair continued to be repeated for me until the clouds were scattered asunder and the membrane was ripped. I left the caves and caverns and went down from the chambers, headed for the spring of life. I saw the large rock on the top of a great mountain-like hill. I asked the fish that were gathered in the spring of life and were taking pleasure and delight in the shade of the great towering mountain what the promontory was and what the great rock was. One of the fish took its way in the sea, tunneling. It said, "That is what we sought after, and this mountain is Mount Sinai. The rock is your father's cell." "Who are these fish?" I asked. It answered, "Like you. You are the sons of one father. They have had an experience like yours, so they are your brothers." When I heard and realized, I embraced them and rejoiced in them, and they rejoiced in me. I ascended the mountain and saw our father, an old man from the brilliance of whose light the heavens and earth were nearly split open. I remained perplexed and amazed by him. I walked toward him. He greeted me, and I prostrated myself before him, and was almost obliterated by his radiating light. I wept for a time and complained to him of the prison of Kairouan. He said to me, "It is well. You've escaped. Yet you must return to the Occidental imprisonment, for you have not removed your bonds completely." When I heard him say this, I lost my reason and wailed and moaned like one who sees his destruction imminent. I pleaded with him, but he said, "It is necessary for you to return now, but I will give you glad tidings of 2 things. First, when you return to prison, you will be able to come to us and ascend to our paradise easily whenever you wish. Secondly, in the end you will be delivered to our presence by leaving the Occidental lands absolutely and completely." I rejoiced at what he said. Then he said to me, "Know that this is Mount Sinai. Above this is Mount Sinin, where my father, your grandfather, dwells. I stand in relation to him as you stand in relation to me. We have other ancestors until the line reaches the king, who is the great progenitor without father or grandfather. We are all his servants. We take our light from him and are modeled on him. His is the greatest splendor, his the greatest glory, and the most forceful light. He is above, the light of light, above light ever and eternally. It is he who is manifested to everything, and everything perishes except his face. I was in the midst of this tale when my condition changed, and I fell from the air into a low place among a people who were not believers. I was as a prisoner in the region of the Occident. There remained with me a pleasure, however, I am unable to explain. I moaned and wailed out of regret at being separated, and that comfort was a dream that quickly passed. May God save us from the captivity of nature and the bonds of matter. Say, Praise be unto God. He will show you his signs, and ye shall know them. And thy Lord is not regardless of that which ye do. And say, God be praised, but the greater part of them do not understand. And prayers upon his prophet and his family all.